Okay, so I'm sorry to lie to y'all like that, but okay, there's still a percent chance that you are needy, but I get it. You've gone through things and you've perceived the fact that people aren't there for you, so you feel like in order to keep them, you kind of have to struggle, you have to hold on. But there's a much easier way to allow people into your lives without you having to fight yourself or whatever's going on. The truth is, speaking from experience, I felt this insecure feeling my entire life, feeling like I'm not good enough, I'm not deserving enough. So when you have that as a core belief, you're naturally going to pursue people who are unavailable to get yourself to pay attention to the fact that you're not being available for yourself. So it's not that those people are doing anything wrong, they're the exact match for whatever you're putting out. So until you're self aware to recognize that you've been putting your insecurities in other people's hands to fix when it was never their job, and you needed to wake up and pay attention to the world that you believe in, the world that you expect, the type of treatment you expect from others. Until you wake up and realize that and take control and responsibility for it, you won't be able to empower yourself and experience the type of connections that you actually want. So that's usually the dynamic. Someone who is needy will attract people who are unavailable just as a reflection to show them, okay, if you don't think you're good enough, I'm going to show you someone who treats you the same way that you feel about yourself. If you don't feel you're deserving enough for an emotionally available person, I'm going to show you the type of person that you believe is available for you. And that's the kind of trap that we put ourselves in because we expect that and we believe this about life, and we're not recognizing that our own interpretation and our own expectations is what we continue to see, because basically we're our own filter for life. And I just mean that to say, imagine your neediness and your insecurities are glasses that you're wearing. So that's a prescription you have, and you're looking at life through that lens. You're only going to see things that are a match for the insecure prescription that you're wearing. If you were to, work on yourself, become more secure, and just practice what that feels like, affirmations, just feeling good about yourself, and you put on that new prescription, you're going to see a completely different world. You're not going to be reacting to things in an insecure way. Even if someone showed up as unavailable, it wouldn't hold as much weight because, one, you don't need them to be reassured. Two, your security is not going to be based on what anyone else is doing, but ultimately when you're secure, you're still going to have a different interpretation of how someone's behaving. So those same people who weren't available before could either switch and become more open, more expressive, and treat you the way that you feel you deserve. Or people who are more compatible and more available will start showing up in your life. But it's not really just to point the finger or place blame or anything, but you have to recognize, even on the other side of the spectrum, if you're meeting someone who's unavailable, put yourself in their shoes. The same way you have your own expectations for life, other people have gone through things, made their assumptions and interpretations, and now are taking actions based on what they feel to be true for themselves. So imagine why someone would be showing up as unavailable. If they weren't shown how to give love or even receive it the same way you feel you have it, how do you think that person's going to show up? They're obviously kind of the opposite of, that needy attachment. They're more on the avoidance side. But you see how those dynamics still show up from someone who could be holding on to some emotional trauma, or just, just a lack of self-awareness to see, okay, why am I avoidant of this thing that I say that I want? What are my expectations for this? It feels like too much. I get overwhelmed and scared, so I just kind of shut those emotions off and don't even like to express it, because on the off chance that things go south, I don't want to experience that type of pain. So you could put yourself in the other person's shoes, have compassion and understanding of why they might behave the way that they do, and not take it as personal, while holding yourself accountable for your own emotional needs and what you actually require from this person. Because you don't need anything from anybody, but what you get from them is a product of what you're giving yourself. So if you're not giving yourself the confidence and the awareness to know who you are, to be secure, to feel good about yourself, and naturally embody that as an individual, nothing that anybody outside of you can do will reassure you. And if they do, it'll be a temporary high that makes you feel good in the moment. But what you'll notice is, if they're not always there to reassure you, or always reaching out and doing things in the way that you would expect, it's going to throw you off. And that's no way to live. You don't need to micromanage somebody into respecting you and treating you well. There are people out there who are capable of doing that without you having to ask, and it's just the norm for them. But if you're not even practiced in normalizing receiving that behavior from people, it all starts with you. You got to bring it back home and start carrying yourself as someone who expects that type of treatment, that type of behavior. So it's really about what you expect from yourself, holding that self-image of someone who's well respected, gets what they deserve without asking, because so many people are willing to give and to love and spoil and do wonderful, amazing things, and it just feels good for them to give. They don't even want anything else for that. Like, it doesn't have to be transactional, but in order to find those quality of people, you have to know that you're the type of person that receives that on a regular basis. So for me, it starts with the mindset. Like, you have to tell yourself, it's normal for me to get treated how I deserve. It's natural for me to be treated with respect and showered with love. You literally have to shower yourself with that. You have to affirm that. You have to speak that into existence, to the point where you feel that confidence just from telling yourself that. Because the tricky part is, sometimes when we decide to change our mindset and expect better for ourselves, we might see some seemingly negative things come up. And it's not that it's a test, it's really just going to see, are you really who you say you are? Are you going to stick to this identity? And you have to stand in that even when it seems like you don't have the evidence of it. Because the same way you were looking for evidence and finding evidence of not being good enough and not being treated well, you have to start disproving that evidence and giving it new meaning, and continue to argue against that until you stand firm in the treatment that you want, and just having available people come to you. So see yourself as available, because in a way, if you're attracting unavailable people, you're not being available to what you want. Even if it's disguised as you having certain negative beliefs or insecurities or just assumptions, if you have the assumption that people aren't available and it's showing up based on the type of interactions you're having, that means you're not being available to what you say you want. And continuing to play that story and be that identity is only keeping you stuck there. So it's really about being clear about what you want. Sorry if there's noise in the background, but it's really about being clear about what you want, sticking to those standards, and just really owning it. So I think that's all I want to say for this video, and I'll see you guys.